Barta was split in half. Same family, a cousin who lives on this side of the 67 borders, who has an Israeli citizenship, and a brother, a cousin who lives on the other side who has a Palestinian citizenship, if you can call it a citizenship, a Palestinian situation. Palestinians, West Bank, Gaza, and the 48, just one people who were divided. Even Palestinians in the 48, Palestinian citizens of Israel, almost third of them are refugees themselves, what we call internally displaced Palestinians. I'm a citizen of Israel, yet I cannot go back to Bisan. My grandmother is actually, her dad worked in Bisan and they moved to Bisan. They bought land in Bisan, but she cannot go back to Bisan. I am not being discriminated against in Israel because I'm a minority, I'm Arab. I'm being discriminated against in Israel because I'm Palestinian. The same bullet that hits me, that kills me, you know, in Israel, it's the same one that kills people in the West Bank and in Gaza. There's no, it's the same arms, same weapons. 80% of the cases remain unsolved. They can get to a nuclear scientist in Tehran, they can get to him, but they cannot get to a murderer who killed a Palestinian in Nazareth.
Do you feel like you live in a democracy? I mean, we always hear the only democracy in the Middle East. Today on Falastin, we sit with Shareef Safadi, a Palestinian citizen of Israel whose identity challenges the very foundation of a state that calls him its own while denying his Palestinianhood. As someone whose family remained on their land during and after the Nakba, Shareef is part of a group that Israel refers to as Arab Israelis or Israeli Arabs. Arab Israelis, or 48 Palestinians as referred to by Palestinians, make up some 20% of Israel's population. His existence forces uncomfortable questions. What does it mean to hold Israeli citizenship as a Palestinian? What does it mean to be part of a population that was never meant to stay but did? And how does one carry the full weight of Palestinian identity inside a state built on Palestinian erasure? Shareef, hi.
Hi.
I don't want to do much talking today. I want to listen more. But of course, I'm happy to answer any questions. But I want you first to tell me about yourself, your background, your upbringing.
So my name is Sharif. I grew up in the city of Nazareth, and a few months ago, I decided to move to Haifa. I had worked in tourism in Nazareth, and tourism is no longer a thing back home. So I thought, new beginnings, and I moved to Haifa. Um, uh, I come from actually an original Nazarene family, so a family that lived in Nazareth prior to the Nakba. And my mom is actually a Bedouin, so I am a mix of two different communities within the 48. And yeah, uh, I study conflict resolution today in the University of Tel Aviv, doing my master's. I graduated from Haifa. I have my bachelor's in Haifa, and I'm trying I'm trying through my social media to educate people about the Palestinians who were left or who stayed in modern day Israel. I think what I'm trying to do here is show the true silenced voice of 48ers
Hmm.
because we have been used as pawns, we've been used to whitewash Israel's democracy, and the voices that are prominent from within the 48, these are paid Hasbara voices, right? And I guess what I'm doing is like a counter Hasbara to showing to what I believe is the voice of the majority of Palestinians, Palestinian citizens of Israel. So that's my mission.
I have to say, I don't really meet many 48ers. I think in my lifetime, I've really known, I can count them on one hand. I think that's one of the things about being Palestinian, this kind of division of identity. You've got the people from Gaza, so I'm from Gaza. You've got the people in the West Bank, and then you've got people like you,
Yeah.
people who remained
Yeah.
in pre-1948 Palestine. So it's interesting to hear from you directly, and I am a very shall we say, dedicated follower of your videos.
Thank
I
you.
like to hear more about what you guys go through. So you carry an Israeli passport.
Yeah.
You're called an Israeli citizen.
Yeah.
What do you feel like this citizenship entails? What does it afford you, and what does it demand from you?
So before I answer that, on the on the division, on that point of division, I just read something. Basically, so in 1948, we were about 150,000 Palestinians who managed to remain within the 48 borders, and we were concentrated in villages. So we lost all of the cities except for Nazareth, and I'll talk about Nazareth and the story of Nazareth as we move on. And we're not different people. We had family who ended up in the West Bank, families who ended up in the West Bank and Jordan and Lebanon, and of course in Gaza. So I just actually read something that upon the 6 days war,
Yeah,
when suddenly these families could see each other again, people ran to Gaza. People from the 48, like they went to Gaza, went to the camps looking for their lost brothers or lost family members. Even there was even a story of a Jewish family, a Jewish Israeli family who went to Gaza to look for a Jewish woman who had married a Gazan and moved to Gaza. So but there was proper division between us and between our families, and so it's not like we come from different families or different backgrounds. The same people. You have brothers. Like for example, you have the village of Parta. I don't know if you know the village of Parta. Parta is one of the villages that has an interesting story. Parta was split in half, right?
mm.
Split in the middle, and you literally have people who live like family, same family, a cousin who lives on this side of the 67 borders who has an Israeli citizenship, and a brother, a cousin who lives on the other side who has a Palestinian citizenship. Or if you can call it a citizenship, a Palestinian situation. So yeah, on that point, Palestinians, West Bank, Gaza, and the 48, just one people who were divided,
And
and
of
ever
course, the people
since.
in the refugee camps in neighboring countries. That's a whole other story.
Yes,
Lebanon.
also one important thing that people don't see is that even Palestinians in the 48, Palestinian citizens of Israel, almost third of them are refugees themselves, what we call internally displaced Palestinians, or Palestinians who lost their villages, were displaced from the villages like Safuriye, today's Tsipori, Ma'lul, Shajara, and so on and so on. And they were displaced, but they still ended up in Nazareth, for example, or in other villages. And even today, even though they hold Israeli citizenship, yeah, they are not allowed to go back to their villages, to their land, although it's their land. And by law, by this a law called abstinence properties law, that I'm a citizen of Israel, yet I cannot go back to Bisan. My grandmother is actually, well, her dad worked in Bisan and they moved to Bisan. They bought land in Bisan, but she cannot go back to Bisan. Why can't she go back to Bisan, although she's a citizen of this country?
Yeah.
So this is also an important. So the Nakba took place and happened and affected all different variations and categories of Palestinians. And this is what they try to distort. They try to paint it as if in 1948, we chose Gazans to be Gazans, West Bankers to be West Bankers, and you, the Israeli Arab, you were special to us somehow. We decided to give you democracy. We decided to give you citizenships, and that's not the
Do
case.
you feel like you live in a democracy? I mean, we always hear the only democracy in the Middle East. You know.
Okay, the actual how is it to live inside of Israel? as an Arab or as a Palestinian, you need to understand that the majority of Palestinian citizens of Israel, we don't live alongside Israelis. We live in our own villages, okay? We live in our own cities, and we rarely see Israelis. Like the other day in the peace conference in Paris, a Palestinian from the West Bank said, you know, when we see Israelis, we only know Israelis through soldiers. We only see the soldiers. We only see the policemen. We only see the violence. And I'm like, even in Nazareth, in my city, I hadn't met any Jew up until I was like 18 or 19, and I went to university and I started making Jewish friends. Up until then, I only saw Israelis as yes, armed forces coming to crack down protests in 2014, protest against the war in Gaza, and so on and so on. So there's so much similarities between the experiences in inside of Israel and for other Palestinians in the West Bank and other places. So again, what I feel that we live mostly in a state within a state,
Mm.
some sort of segregation, intentional and non-intentional. But there is, you know, like I think it's like 5%, if not less, of like Arabs, Palestinians who live in mixed cities,
Yeah.
and the majority, the rest, like I barely spoke Hebrew up until I was 19 and I started engaging in politics and going to university where suddenly I had to speak academic Hebrew, right? So yeah, there's this point that people need to realize. It's not like we don't go to school together, right? This is also something that like my friends abroad, Muslim, they when they were in like bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and they had Jewish friends growing up in Europe. And I, the Arab living in the Palestinian living in Israel, I didn't have Jewish friends growing up. I didn't study in with Jews. I barely saw them, you know. I barely knew of them. I only knew of them as, you know, the other again. So this is one little thing about how it is to live in Israel as a Palestinian.
Does the label Arab Israeli feel like an imposition? Or how do you identify yourself? How do you refer to
I
yourself? Let's say
yeah,
if you go abroad and then someone asks you where you're from.
Palestinian. So I I do not subscribe to the term Israeli Arab. I um I am I identify as a Palestinian. I identify as an Arab, and I take pride in the word Arab. Actually, the word Arab is used sometimes by Israelis or by Israel
Mm,
as to distort the Palestinian identity, to say, ah, you're just Arab belonging to whatever Arab tribes who came here, right? And it even to some extent it became like to me something similar of like a slur, you know?
mm.
But I actually take that word Arab and I say, no, I'm a proud Arab and I'm also a proud Palestinian. So I do identify as a Palestinian. And I think the majority of Palestinian 48ers identify as a Palestinian. Some would use the word Israel in the way they would introduce themselves as the legal aspect. So they say I'm Israeli Palestinian, I'm Israeli, and only a small minority,
Mm.
and it exists wherever there was colonization around the world. Only a small minority of Palestinian citizens of Israel would subscribe to the term Israeli as a national belonging and not as a civil or legal belonging.
When you started to go to university and to mix more with um, the rest of society in Israel, have you felt like an outsider at all?
So I went to the University of Haifa, and where so the University of Haifa is in Haifa, which is in the north, where you have the majority of Palestinian citizens of Israel living in villages in the north. So this university has almost 50%, like 50-50 Arab and Jewish students. And usually you just mingle with your own group. right? Even in class, you have Arabs sitting
Mm.
one side, in their groups, and Jews sitting in their groups. And also, there's the matter of age differences. So usually Arabs, they go to university at the age of like 18, 19, whereas Jews who have to go to the army, they come to university on much older age, like that 23, 24 sometimes even. As an outsider in the University of Haifa, people-wise, no, no, because again, there was 50-50. But again, this 50% population of Arab students was not represented within the student body, let's say. So there were discriminations in that essence. Uh, Basically, 50% Arab students in the University of Haifa had zero representation in the student body. The corrupt body, there was a big story about it that I also made a video about. And and the language, the Arabic language is not equal. You study in Hebrew, which you can say it's understandable, but even there was another incident last year, even extra like extra lessons for Arab
Additional, like
students,
additional.
additional lessons for Arab students,
Mm.
extra hours basically,
Mm.
and the university basically refused to have it in Arabic, and their claim was that if we do it in Arabic, then the students will eventually need to know it in Hebrew, and then if we do it in Arabic, that's gonna only hurt them. It's gonna only affect their ability to learn in Hebrew, which is, wait, it's just additional lessons in Arabic to help them understand in the mother tongue. So yeah, this is what I can say about university for now.
What about among Palestinians? Do you feel an outsider among Palestinians? In fact, do you get to meet many from the occupied territories?
Again, just like you, I no, I do not get to meet many Palestinians. I but when we go, we usually go like to Jenin because it's near Nazareth, and I'm forced to go to Jenin shopping with my sister and with my mom. And the feeling that I have the feeling that I have in Jenin and in Palestinian cities, I went to Nablus, I went to Ramallah, and the feeling that is shared amongst Arabs. I actually saw a post the other day, and it said the question, it was a question: why do 48ers still go to Jenin when there's huge traffic at the like checkpoint at the crossing? And I opened the comments expecting to see people saying, because it's cheaper, because we have expensive products at home, and then, and I thought like economical reasons. But then I was surprised. I saw so many people writing how they feel belonging, how they feel they're actually in a Palestinian, in an Arabic city, that what they were deprived of,
Mm.
even like what they call cities in Arab cities in Israel, they're just big villages. They're not real cities. And there were like heartwarming comments from people from different religions, different backgrounds from within the 48 territories, explaining how how comfortable they are, and how it heals them, how it heals their need of an Arabic sphere when they go to Jenin, they when go to Nablus, and when they go to other Palestinian cities. Me, me personally, it is the only place, like if I go to the West Bank, it's the only place when I can actually approach policemen there, and I've done it so many times because finally I see a policeman that I'm not threatened from. I can approach, and usually it's nice encounters.
And you can come and go as you like to the West Bank. Is it for Palestinians
So,
or Israeli citizens in general? Is it easy?
well,
Do you need any special paperwork, or do you just pass through?
mm,
Because obviously
yeah.
I don't go to either, so.
So for Israeli citizens, again, the West Bank is divided into three areas: A, C, B. ABC, and Israelis can go to Area C, I think. And I think Area A is prohibited to Israeli citizens. You have signs saying by law entrance is prohibited, but Arab Palestinian citizens of Israel, they go, I go, and we're the same people. No, we're not going to be endangered in Ramallah or in Nablus, God forbid. So we just go. There's no restriction in that sense.
Mm.
Yeah,
But it's not the other way around. So say someone from the West Bank
no.
wants to go.
Someone from the West Bank needs to have a permit to go into Palestine, to historical Palestine. And yeah, it's not the same. I mean, if we go back, it's similar to what the Palestinian citizens of Israel were subjugated to in the beginning of the Israeli state, because from 1948 to 1966, Palestinian citizens of Israel, they lived under direct military rule. So my granddad, I still have his permit. My granddad, in order to go and work outside of Nazareth, he had to issue a permit, similar to what happens in the West Bank today. So, but since 1966 and after the war, we have no restriction from moving to the West Bank. To Gaza, no, we can't, of course. Up until 2005, we could, but now, no.
Yeah. You've been quite outspoken about Gaza and Palestine in general, I feel. And I saw your encounters with Macron, French president.
I pushed everybody to say first release of hostages and ceasefire. So we have to create a push.
Mr. President, does that include Palestinian hostages as well?
Yes, all
And the
hostages.
thousands.
I'm very clear.
Yes. All the hostages. Palestinians as well.
On both sides.
I do recognize the right of Israel to defend itself.
But do you recognize also the right of Palestinians?
Exactly,
To
and
defend
this is why since October 2023, France has asked for a ceasefire. And this is why we do ask for a ceasefire, and we clearly don't share the objective today of the Israeli army.
I understand. The objective today for me is peace.
Exactly.
But
So
again,
we want this
peace
conflict to
has
stop.
to have equal terminology as well. You cannot come from the
I will not
from the outside.
parallelize, but I will never parallelize Hamas with the
But they
Israeli
killed
army.
more. They killed more. Brutally.
I will,
Banned.
but what is
Babies, thousands of babies.
my recommendation for all of us is to be focused on that much more than on the
The
terminology.
terminology is very important as well. You
Yes,
are a president.
My
and
objective,
you
yes,
know that.
But my terminology, I totally endorse it. I don't think I will never share the fact that if you
You don't
qualify,
believe in the existence of state terrorism.
no, not in that component. I disagree with that.
Yes.
And I will never say that. But I totally disagree with what the Israeli army is doing in Gaza today and since months. I asked for a ceasefire because I consider they kill civilians. But
Okay.
I will never make the parallelism, and this is not my first objective.
I get an invite to a peace conference that is organized by the French government, I think in preparation for the conference for the summit in the United States, in New York, the joint Saudi-French one. And I saw an opportunity. They invited us to go to the palace, and I was finally in front of a world leader, and I'm genuinely interested. Like, why do they feel that way? Why do they say these things, and why do they why is it so unequal the way they address Palestinians and the way they addressed Israelis, even within peace dialogue? Like, why is terrorism always bound to Palestinians? I was genuinely interested to understand how can world leaders, people who are educated, how can they only only relate the term terrorism to Palestinians, whereas the Israeli violence is dealt with differently. So I, I had the opportunity and I snatched it. I just wanted to talk. I genuinely wish I could have talked with him more and could have sat and just understood the political psychology behind it, right? Because we all see what's happening in Gaza. It's beyond comprehension.
Were you satisfied with his answers?
Uh, no. I mean, I didn't even have enough time to be satisfied or not satisfied, but I asked a question when he said that first release the hostages, and then ceasefire, one pack. And I knew he didn't mean Palestinian hostages. I knew he didn't mean Palestinian children, women, and thousands of people who are unlawfully detained, administrative detention without even trials. I know he didn't mean them. I know he meant Israeli hostages in Gaza, which I subscribe to. Yes, they should return to their homes. But also Palestinian hostages, we're equal. If we're humans, we're equal. Our lives should matter as much as their lives. The lives of thousands of Gazans should matter as much, if not more, than the fifty lives of hostages in Gaza. But this is not how it's treated, And so I asked, do you, when you say that, do you also include the Palestinian hostages? He answered yes on both sides. I don't. I genuinely do not believe that this is what he means when he says release the hostages. But again, it was really short. It was a short conversation, short discussion, and people were swarming us, wanting to get to him to take selfies, so on.
How do you
I'm basically yeah.
Mm.
What I aim is, even if it's desperate attempts, but when there's an opportunity to maybe make our voices heard, to perhaps start some sort of like a butterfly effect, affect someone who has power, or affect someone who knows someone who has power. I need to talk. I have it in me that I need to advocate.
How do you reconcile the nature of Israel as a Jewish state, the nation state law that was passed in 2018, I believe it was, with your identity? How does that fit?
Doesn't fit. Again, law or no law, my identity has been and will be and will remain Palestinian Arab, and the state of Israel as it is, with its names, with its name, with its symbols, with its anthem, with its practices, can never reflect who I am. You can say perhaps that the civil aspect of the country, that has some space in my legal identity, but as a national identity, I never subscribed to. I never felt Israel to be my country, and I think this is shared by many Palestinian citizens of Israel. They do not feel they're part of the country, so
Not represented.
it's not represented. And yeah, I mean, many Palestinians even boycott, Palestinian citizens of Israel boycott the Knesset elections. This is something that is not talked about.
Yeah.
Many Palestinians do not believe in the democracy of the state, and thus do not believe in the legitimacy of these elections, and they don't participate in it.
What does that mean? They don't believe in the democracy of the state. What do you mean by that?
So for them, the Knesset, or the participation of Arabs in the Knesset, comes as an attempt to polish Israel's image as a democracy.
Tokenize.
Tokenize, yes. And they don't believe that they actually have they have an effect in the Knesset. So they don't want to be pawns of this attempt. And they boycott. That's a good percentage of Palestinian citizens of Israel. Because if you compare the turnout for like municipality
Election.
elections and Knesset elections, you'll see a huge gap, a huge difference.
So we always hear that Israel is a democracy. We have Arab Israelis, and they are part of the fabric of the society. They have the right to vote. They have the right to stand in the Knesset. We see some Arab Israeli lawmakers. And yet, whenever there is a discussion about, let's say, the one-state solution that comes not from inside Israel, but from proponents of that kind of solution to give everybody equal rights, to the Palestinians that are in the West Bank and to Gaza, to give them the same rights that Israeli citizens, including Arab Israelis or Palestinians from 48, to give them those rights, to give them those same rights, because there's always this, label that the Palestinians inside Israel are not affected. So whenever even human rights organizations talk about apartheid, talk about practices in the West Bank and Gaza, the segregation of rights, it applies there.
Doesn't apply here yet.
And yet doesn't apply sort of inside Israel. So why is it that it's such a danger to do that same thing that they did with you, for instance, with the rest of Palestinians inside the occupied territories in the West Bank and in Gaza?
You need to understand that this is why Israel, in its essence, cannot be a democracy. Israel has waged a demographic war against Palestinians, especially against Palestinian citizens of Israel. Inside of Israel, there was once a project called to Judaizing the Galilee, right? Why the Galilee? Because the Galilee had and still has the biggest Palestinian Arab population, community, and they don't want that, and it wasn't like it wasn't hidden. It was named. We put Jews in the Galilee, and many Arab lands, Arab Palestinian Israeli citizens' lands, were confiscated to build Jewish towns. For example, Nazareth, you had Upper Nazareth in the 60s. Upper Nazareth is a city that was built to basically disconnect the in between of Nazareth and other villages to put Jews there. They didn't want a continuous Arab Palestinian community there. So it's kind of ironic, It's similar again to the West Bank. You have Arab cities or Arab villages that are surrounded by little Jewish towns. And this project, at least in the Galilee, hasn't been that successful because Jews, Israelis, they prefer not to live in the peripheries. Peripheries, do you say? And they don't prefer to live there. They go to live in Tel Aviv in the center, whereas Arabs remain there. Arabs stay there. So there's always a demographic threat, especially before. Now Arabs barely give birth as much as they did back then. I have 10 aunts, but I have one sister. And this is why this, this is why you have the birthright, which same country has differentiates by like who can come and reside and live and take citizenship on basis of religion. If you're a Jew living anywhere of the world, anywhere in the world, you can come, whether you had connection to the land before, whether or not.
Yeah.
I have Jewish friends. I have a Jewish friend who whose dad in Russia converted to Judaism, according to her, to escape whatever conflict in Russia, whatever mafia conflict in Russia that he had himself in, and came to Israel, converted to Judaism, came to Israel, and took the citizenship. And now she's Israeli. Now he's Israeli. She's pro-Palestinian. She's anti-Zionist. But still, this is how absurd this law is. Another person that I met, she was a colleague. She had discovered 2 years ago that when we met 2 years ago, that one of her grandparents were actually Jewish. She's not Jewish, she's Christian, and she was from Argentina. So upon that discovery, she decided to come and make Aliyah or to move to Israel. And of course, I understand why. Not all of them come for ideological reasons. Actually, the majority they come for economic reasons. It's way better to live in an Israeli economy rather than Argentinian or Russian or Ukrainian or Ethiopian economy. But still, you have this law, whereas Palestinians cannot come back to Haifa, to Jaffa, even inside of Israel. They cannot go back to Bisan, to Safuriye, to Mjadel. They can't. So, is this democracy? I have a big doubt. So, yeah. So
I
again, this is also why the prospect of the idea of annexing the West Bank and annexing Gaza and giving them equal rights is going to be very problematic. Then they are forced to choose between a Jewish state and democratic state because if they want to keep this balance, between Jewish state and the democratic state, they have to keep the uh, the demographic superiority, the demographic majority. If they start giving citizenships to West Bankers and to Gazans, you have the same amount of Jews and Palestinians between the river and the sea. So that's gonna create a big conflict in the identity of the Israeli state.
It is always astounding to me the hypocrisy of it all, because Palestinians have the right of return, which is enshrined in international law. So since Israel was founded, and the entire foundation of UNRWA is based on, finding a resolution, those refugees to come back home. But then on the other hand, you do have this law of return for any sort of Jew on the face of
That's
the
right.
earth, whether they've ever been to Palestine, whether their grandparents have ever been to Palestine or not, they
Yeah.
have an automatic right to go and settle the land.
Mhm.
Um, so it is astounding to me. I mean, on my mother's side, refugee. So my mother's side, her parents came from sort of pre-1948 and then became refugees in Gaza in 48. Whereas my dad's side, they're from Gaza, they're from Khan Yunis. So it's crazy to me that, my grandmother, for instance, right now, from my mother's side, she was a baby when it all kicked off in 1948 and had to be made a refugee. And then she built this life for herself in Gaza. And now she's been made to flee again. And everything that she's ever built, is destroyed. My granddad has passed away, who's also been, um, he was a child when 1948 happened, and then he became a refugee. So he's passed away a few years ago. So he hasn't actually had the chance to see a return, but neither did he have to experience this second Nakba that is happening in Gaza, this genocide. Um, why do you feel the need to be outspoken on social media? Why do you feel the need to be kind of be political, shall we say? I mean, you could just go about your life, and it's safer that way, surely.
Okay. While I do acknowledge that, like the Palestinians, the divided Palestinians, there's a hierarchy of suffering. Gazans suffer the most from the Nakba, from the continuous Nakba. Uh, then people in the West Bank, and then the refugee camps in the West Bank in Tul Karam and in Jenin. But I disagree with this saying that I can go on and live my life without as if nothing is happening. Many Palestinians of Israel, they try to do that. Okay, many live in the illusion that they can do that, but the remnants of the Nakba and the are still affecting us today, and the remnants of the military rule, they're still affecting us today. For example, again, because of the war in Gaza, first and foremost, I am part, like my first commitment is my commitment to the people in the West Bank and to the people in Gaza. I am part of these people, and whatever happens, so my first motivation is to help my people in Gaza and the West Bank, but then even my people in the 48. We live, okay, so this is okay. We live under threat every day. So if it's not a threat from Israeli discrimination, Israeli home demolitions, Israeli land confiscation, like what happened in the 76, Israeli police brutality, and protest, and the two intifadas and the second
Mhm.
intifada, and even a massacre in Kfr Qasim during the military rule, right? We have a very pressing issue, the issue of organized crime. Okay, so if we were to form our own country, Arab Israelis, we would be, I think, the second or third highest death rate or murder rate in the world after Colombia and Mexico. And why is that happening? They might say, Israel might come and say, or Israelis might come and say, this is because the Arab culture is violent and it's inherently violent and they like to kill each other, right? And they have the families clashing each other and what's not, which is not true. If you go to the West Bank, you don't have that crazy murder rate. If you go to Gaza, and I even think even now in Gaza, they're not killing each other as much as Arabs, Palestinians, in Israel are. So what's happening there? Where's the police? You know, the police do not deal. 80% of murder cases in the Arab-Israeli community, Arab-Palestinian community. I'm using the word Israeli again here to be specific to what they say, as a response to what they say. And the Palestinian citizens of Israel, 80% of the cases remain unsolved. Why don't they solve them? They can get to a nuclear scientist in Tehran, they can get to him, but they cannot get to a murderer who killed a Palestinian in Nazareth or in Tamra or in Haifa or anywhere. Okay, and the truth is they basically don't care. Not that only they don't care, the weapons that are used by these organized crimes, they come directly from the Israeli army. According to the Israeli army, 70+% of the arms, of the weapons, comes from army warehouses. How and when and why, I don't know. And so there's this sense that they are sponsoring the organized crime to keep Palestinians divided and to keep Arabs busy killing each other, and rather than to struggle for freedom, for liberation, for equality. And actually, this ظاهرة, this phenomenon, it started and it grew, it worsened. It wasn't like that before the year 2000. So it started actually to go up as a direct consequence, some people would argue, of the second Intifada of the year 2000, when the Palestinian Israeli citizens, they rose up, they protested, 13 were killed, and tens were injured. They protested against what's happening in Jerusalem and against what's happening in the West Bank. And there's this record of a Palestinian Israeli politician who met during the second Intifada, during what we call Habbat October, the October uprising of 2000, who met with the Prime Minister at the time, Ehud Barak, if I'm not mistaken, and the head of the Shabak. And the head of the Shabak, a guy named Rechter, don't quote me on that. According to the Palestinian citizen, according to the Palestinian politician, the Israeli Arab politician, he told him, what do you have to do with the West Bank or with Jerusalem? Why are you protesting against that? You will pay the price. And I'm quoting from the politician. You will pay the price for these protests, and there will come a day that you will be stuck amongst each other. A direct threat. And ever since, the police intensified their neglecting of crimes and of organized crimes. Not even that, many of these organized crimes, they have connections to the police forces, and some of them are informants. And these aren't things that Shareef is saying. These are things that the police are saying, that basically we cannot deal with them because they work with us. So what is happening there, and why within the same country, my Jewish neighbor in Upper Nazareth has safety, I don't have safety, and I personally was almost killed, as a collateral damage from this organized crime thingy. I was supposed to be in a car, and that car was shot, right? And I had nothing to do with it. And I was supposed to, and last minute I didn't go into that car.
The last salam.
No, but like for real, like you're not safe. Doesn't matter if you're involved in organized crime or not. If you're a construction worker, if you're an academic, you are not safe today. You are not safe.
So why do you bother talking about that, specifically West Bank and Gaza?
again, it's my commitment to my people. I cannot let the divide and conquer strategy work. Like I could have been a refugee in Gaza. I could have been a refugee in Jordan or elsewhere. Actually, let me tell you the story of Nazareth. So Nazareth was occupied in 1948 under a campaign called Dekel campaign. And when Nazareth was occupied, the people of Nazareth they signed like a surrender agreement under which the condition was that we will surrender the city, okay? But all these in Nazareth, all those in Nazareth, residents of Nazareth, and all the refugees, because Nazareth hosted a huge influx of refugees upon the war in 1948, they shall not be harmed. And the campaign leader on the Israeli side, a guy called Ben Dunkelman, something like that, a Canadian Zionist, who is still till today in Palestinian history narrative is referred to as the honest Zionist enemy Zionist leader. He agreed to these terms, right? But when he reported back to Ben Gurion actually asked him to once again to expel the people of Nazareth, and it was thanks to him, to one man, to one Zionist general, that he refused and he convinced Ben Gurion of the importance of Nazareth, of the international importance of Nazareth as a Christian city, and how it's not that important for Jews, and how we should respect these terms to show good faith to the international community that is supporting us, right? So has it? So if it wasn't for this one man, decision of one man, like an effort of one man, I would have been just like you. You know, I would have been in Gaza, I would have been in the West Bank, I would have been in Jordan, in Lebanon, God knows where. So I refuse this narrative that we were chosen, we are the chosen Palestinians. I refuse it because it's simply not truth. It's all coincidence. It's coincidence that I stayed in Nazareth, and your family went to Gaza. Just coincidence. And if I don't fight for my people, who am I? You know, who am I? And again, my struggle against discrimination, against racism, against all sort of like racism and discrimination within Israel is not an independent struggle. It intertwines with my national struggle that connects with Palestinians in the West Bank and Palestinians in Gaza. I am not being discriminated against in Israel because I'm a minority, I'm Arab. I'm being discriminated against in Israel because I'm Palestinian. The same bullet that hits me, that kills me, you know, in Israel is the same one that kills people in the West Bank and in Gaza. It's the same arms, same weapons. Okay, different systematic arrangement of this oppression.
Shareef, the individual,
Who's that?
you. Let's shed the identity
Oh,
and national identity of what
yeah.
do you aspire to? What's your dream, your ambition?
Fame,
What do you want?
fame and money.
Join the club.
Yeah. I what do I aspire to? Since I was young, I want to leave an impact. I want to kickstart a change. I want to be part of the reason why the future is going to be better for our children. And I would even say that I am a true peace activist because I want the same for Palestinian children as to Jewish children. You know? I want all of them, all children, to live in peace and in harmony and in justice, most importantly.
Everybody I speak to, even myself, I feel like my own journey, every time we kind of deviate, we want to do something normal. We want to, I don't know, design clothes, or we want to make art. You find Palestine always makes its way
Yeah, it's like
in
we don't want
whatever
to be
it is you
political.
do.
Yeah.
I go and study computing and I want to just steer clear. No, I have to find a way to link it to what's happening in Gaza. I have to find a way to, and then find myself back in journalism. And
Yeah.
It's crazy. I feel like we're cursed. What are we going to do when we finally have a free Palestine?
Are we cursed or are we privileged? You know, God chose us to. I don't want to use the term God chose us. God doesn't choose anyone. He's. It's that kufur. Delete that word, or keep it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Sharif, the individual, I would have loved to live in a country that is not under oppression as part of a people who are self-governing and independent. I wouldn't have put an emphasis on my nationality because I am a person of people. Like I don't believe that there's necessarily a huge difference between an Arab and like a European or a Chinese. I subscribe to the idea of unity, of human unity, you know, people's unity. And I'm not the biggest on an individual, the biggest believer in nation states and all the post-colonial identity manufacturing. But I am put in a position, yes, where I have to defend that. Had had there were no occupation, no colonization, nothing, I tell you I'm Sharif. I'm just Sharif. I like to go to the gym. I like cats as well. That's me, the individual.
I love cats. You should meet my cat one day if you ever come to the UK. Yeah. I would have
Joyce,
loved to. I would have loved to have been an interior designer, but maybe
actually,
in a different life.
architecture, I love the history of architecture. So I used to watch all these documentaries about people renovating old castles in England and such.
Yeah.
And
That is my passion, castles and renovations. You
yeah,
literally hit it.
it's amazing because it tells you so much about. This is also what I liked about English lit. It's that it's like almost interdisciplinary. So like when you study a text, you
Yeah.
don't study you're not just studying the text itself, but you're studying the historical context, the social
Yeah.
context, the genres, you know what politics were at the time. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
My mentor, the person who actually made me really love English literature was Rifat Al-Arair. I'm sure you've heard of him.
yes, yes.
He
I've
was
had his
my teacher. He
poems.
was my
Yes.
teacher. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a video. There was a video once of an old Palestinian man that really touched my heart in Gaza. He was like screaming out of pain, saying like, "We don't want bread. We don't want food. We want knowledge. We want schools." And they're targeting the schools. They're targeting our knowledge, our intellect. And I agree like 100% that.
Yeah.
But the Palestinians, what they excelled at is education.
Yeah.
Palestinian refugees, Palestinian expats, they built, you know, education systems in Kuwait and even in Lebanon before. So they had an impact on education and on the intellectual sphere of all the countries that they went to.
Mm.
And I think the one like last Nakba that can happen to us is that if they hurt our education and hurt our intellect. So I think this is what we need to نتشبث. We need to grab and we
Yeah.
need to
Hold
cling.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sharif, it was really a pleasure. I wish it was under better circumstances, and maybe we will meet in person one day.
100%. Come to Paris. I'm stuck here.
I've been enough times. I don't
Yeah.
fancy going back to Paris.
Maybe I'll go.
No,
I'll go to London.
I think Paris is a bit overrated.
I used to dislike it, you know, because I was like a London fan, but it kind of grew on me, you know, Paris a bit, and you know, started like speaking like a little bit of French, broken French. So,
Oh. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
أني ولدت فلسطينيا لأن جذوري في عمق الدهور لأني ولدت عربيا وأني في القدس من فجر العصور أموت كل يوم أموت أموت اسمي في كل حي اسمي في كل دار القدس عربية القدس لن